So, we hope to help you understand today how you can make for disabled people, how you can work for accessibility. So, we live in a world where non-standard way of use any digital applications, digital products became standard. So you can never really know who, where and how will use your websites and applications. It's not really your call, it's a choice of user. So it is truism for now. We use many devices and users use their environments. And it's unstoppable future. We forgot to say the word that I'm Dominic and this is Kuba. So we are a little bit nervous, so I think it's natural. Okay, so what about you, Kuba?
Okay, so I am web accessibility and readability specialist. I am a husband, as you can see. I am a father also. I am a knife maker and spring allergy sufferer too, as you can see, and maybe you can hear. And I'm really proud that I'm the first wordsman to show a Polish folk dance Krakowian in traditional Japanese theater now. I'm really proud of this.
And this is our portrait from Kuba's daughter. And me, I am obsessed with accessibility because I love the good job. I love my wife, daughter and cat, and designing and coding websites. What next? What are we doing then? We are doing web accessibility from about 10 years. Over the last 10 years, we've been fortunate to make or lead more than 500 audits, accessibility audits, thousands of consultancy and trainings hours. In every project, we tend to unite web accessibility, user experience, web standards, and simplicity. So, I think that people don't like us, but only on the beginning. Who said yes? Okay. Now we like you. People don't like us, but only on the beginning. Some of them are not happy, thinking that we are trying to discredit their expertise in development or UX design or graphic design. But it's far from being the truth. To be frank, we are trying to show people how their expertise could be used to make better and more accessible products for all users, without exception. But I admit it is sometimes really hard work because people don't like us on the beginning.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, who heard anything about web accessibility? Please, hands up. Whoa, great, okay. And who read WCAG 2.0 documentation?
What?
Yes.
WCAG.
WCAG, yes. Okay. Not so bad, not so bad. It seems to us you should catch up a little bit. Learn more and read WCAG 2.0. Please believe me, it's not bidding. It's really inspiring documentation. Today, first, we will present you what is web accessibility concept for those who don't get the idea. Then we will talk about some drawbacks of traditional approach to web accessibility, delivery mode in the products. And finally, we will show why there is a much better approach which is strictly related to UX.
And what is then web accessibility? It's for those who doesn't exactly know what is it. So web accessibility is making any product, digital product, in our context here, usable, pleasure and ease by all people, not only by people with disabilities. but also those with low literacy or new entrants, like just new users or seniors into the digital world. So accessibility means to make the products which are usable with different modalities, with your eyes, with assistive technologies, and different context. What's more, it is really possible, and Binongas, it's mandatory to make an accessible product. Every product should be accessible. There is this popular opinion saying that to make an accessible website or application is to make it conform to WCAG 2.0 standard. It is Web Content Accessibility Guidelines standard. So it is partly true. So today we will try to say you why this is partly true, and that meeting, silly meeting of standards are not full accessibility. Yeah, so what is the status quo of accessibility worldwide, not only in Poland? It is bad, it is miserable, it is embarrassing, because the technologies are not for everyone with this status quo of accessibility. Jeffrey Zelban, maybe some of you heard about Jeffrey Zelban, and his pack changed the web over the years, promoting web standards and good practices. But it's not enough. The technologies evolve, and we think that it is harder today to make an accessible interface. It is hard even for developers. There are a multitude of technologies, techniques, and it's became really complicated. But the non-conformity to standards, it's not what we are talking about today, really. Let's see why.
Okay. What do you think? What is the most popular technique of accessibility implementation? Any ideas? And more? The very most popular technique of web accessibility implementation is to forget about it. Yes, it's true. Let's forget about this aberration. But you got another really popular technique, which is called checklist. It's just fine, depending on checklist completeness. Some people don't like this approach, and doesn't like this approach, and we don't like this approach also. But it's better than nothing. Especially when a checklist is based on WCAG 2.0. This standard is a special type of checklist, very good, but still it's not complete. But gifted mind can squeeze it from WCAG much goodness. Really. You can create your own checklist too. But the problem is that you never create the checklist which is made to measure for every single project, and the projects are different. Let's consider two scenarios of checklist application. Some products are checked with better or worse checklist, mostly after laughing better. Some of the easiest issues are found and fixed, but mainly the issues doesn't involve relating decision process, which is painful for everyone. So, with this advice approach, yes, Dominik? Yeah, because we have releasing it works decently. The reason, it's too late. Yeah. Checklist, Checklist may work well when applied from the beginning of the project. In this case, you check very simple things like titles, headings, form labels, as you can see, or maybe you can say, color contrast or links understandability, etc., etc. As it is simple issues, developers still are not familiar with simplest HTML ideas. We see it all the time. Unfortunately, there is no guarantee that even with all that stuff being well coded, people will use any of your interface or product with ease. So we never believe when we hear, oh, my website is totally accessible. It passed a really rigorous and professional audit. It happens that it's not even usable for all users, and we have seen too much. What's more, there is no universal, bulletproof, ultimate checklist which works for all kinds of digital products. On the other side, this approach is certainly useful. It's a really simple technique of remembering something, better than forget about. So it may be a tool for web developers or anyone who understands drawbacks of this tool. But we are not here to talk about the solution, which we do not recommend. So it's time for them.
And yes, it comes time for a big change in understanding and practicing web accessibility. We are not alone thinking that this old model of accessibility is not efficient. It doesn't work as we expect. So what is important, this change involves your engagement. I'm sorry, but it is the truth. So we think that the most valuable approach is to incorporate accessibility into UX process. To be frank, we mean to reincorporate accessibility into UX. It has been its part from the beginning of digital era, but we all have forgotten about it. So you, as designers, you should think and design for accessibility from the beginning of every single project. On the contrary to the audit, which comes at beta version, for example, this is the wrong approach. The good approach is to design from the beginning. Even though this knowledge about accessibility as part of UX is not new, we do not see its implementation in many projects in Poland, but not only in Poland. So let's change the situation. You may ask, why should I, as UX designer or information architect or researcher, why should I design for accessibility? I'm not an accessibility expert, but let's make use of small equation. Most of users need accessibility. It has been proved. For instance, in Microsoft Forrester research a few years ago, on 16,000 representative subset of US population, with the result, 57% of users need accessible solutions. So you as designers, as you are working for your clients, and your clients need user satisfaction, or money, or whatever, then you need to design for accessibility in your work.
We claim there is no UX, no good UX without an accessibility. Why? Because most audio products are for all people, not for example, 80% of your target group. So, as your product is for all people, then you can design a product which is not accessible or doesn't work for all people. And science came first. Science regained first that something is wrong with traditional model of accessibility implementation. The evidence of some research showed that only 50% of accessibility problem can be covered by WCAG. You may know the very respectable UX experts, UX authors and practitioners, Whitney Quisenberry and Sarah Horton. They came to the conclusion that UX designers should participate in designing for accessibility. We are strongly recommending you to read this book. It's really ABC, a web for everyone. Well-known Peter Morville, with friends, designed this nice UX honeycomb. One of the components of UX honeycomb is accessibility.
Which is not visible here,
Yeah.
sorry for the contrast.
Yeah, but it's not
In our
fault.
computers, it looked really good.
Yeah, and we are thinking that we will make our presentation in the bigger one.
Yeah.
So,
But we are not disappointed. We are
yeah, okay. You certainly know other facets of this, of user experience in this UX honeycomb, but please be friends with accessibility. So, let's get back to the top, on top. How you could design for accessibility as UX designers. Let's check what are the approaches. As you can see on the projection, there is a simple solution for efficient accessibility. So, thank you for your attention. That's all.
Thank you very much. Yes.
No, joke. Next we'll show you some ideas.
Concrete ideas.
Yeah, how you could do in everyday work without overloading your work time too much. And you will not have to use the new UX techniques, but modify those you know later. So, let's see what techniques can be easily expanded, a little bit modified, to meet needs of people with disabilities or any other people for not to be shut out from this project.
Yeah, you have here a bunch of UX techniques or methods. We hope that this presentation will be available for you after, so you will be able to read, because I couldn't read from the back. Those techniques, some of you certainly know some of those techniques, or you understand the function of these techniques if you are not yet UX designers. In the parentheses, you've got some short accessibility hints, but it's not for now. You can read it later. It is just to show you that in many UX techniques you are using, or you will use in your work, you can apply accessibility thinking and doing. But let's talk concretely about a couple of techniques or methods where you can apply accessibility thinking. So, user research. Isn't it really important part of user experience process, user experience work?
Yes or no?
Yes, I see the heads. I don't know how to say in English, doing something like that. So yes, it is really important. So you should always think about involving a couple of disabled users into your research. Not only disabled, but users with some constraints. No matter what is the stage of UX design, you do not have to have prepared, I don't know, beta version. You can start much earlier. But it depends on the project. And you can think about 3 to 4 people additionally in your research. But it also depends on the project and on the budget. So you could think about one blind super user, one average super user, one person partially sighted, so with low vision, like me. So you can think about hiring me in your project, thank you. And one person who has readability problems, like dyslexic person. There is 10% of people in every country who is dyslexic. Those people has sometimes readability problems. And one person with motor disability, different kinds of motor disabilities, and one deaf person. And remember that deaf person isn't always native in his theoretically national language. Some deaf person are native in sign language. So some deaf person doesn't understand every single word in those foreign language for them. So how to involve people with disability? It's easier than you might think, and it is you can contact local organizations or associations involving people with disabilities. You will learn more than you expect. We know it from our heart because we are learning every day working with people. We are experts we know many things about accessibility, but we are learning every day from users what is accessibility for them. So, one more hint. Remember to better go outside of your lab, if you have lab, because people with disabilities have assistive environment, assistive technologies, so we will not be able to easily recreate it in your lab. And one more thing, user research will capture the attention of designers, developers, and what is maybe most important, decision makers. Maybe you have in your team a person which is committed to accessibility. It's fine. It is really treasured. But his opinion can be questionable. But opinion of users, if it's good research, cannot be questionable so easy. So this is a small but powerful technique, UX technique, personas. Some of you might know it, maybe you're using it in your everyday work. So our recommendation here is just pure simplicity. Create disabled personas or personas with some constraints. If you don't know how to do it, in the book mentioned earlier by Horton and Questenberry, you get 9 excellent personas. Just get inspired. And after your little research with people with disabilities, you will be able to create great personas by yourself. So you will learn more, you will know the environment and constraints, you will be able to construct your personas. And you can think also about adapting those personas from one project to another project. It's just recycle personas. We cannot recycle people, but we can recycle personas, just adapting them to the context and the project. So, next stage, really crucial stage, sometimes it takes months to design. There are many stages of design. So, even on just rough sketching, wireframing, prototyping stages, you can cooperate, you can think about accessibility. Because if you want to design very modern interface, let's name it like that, with tons of JavaScript, interaction layer, or something. So you can still, basing on our experience, you can make it accessible. You have to want to do it. And at the design stages, it is really important to cooperate with developers. Do they really know how to make particular accordion, mega dropdown, or any other, I don't know, form with rich interaction accessible? If they are no, and they don't know often. We know the situation from the field, from even the big companies in Poland, which are creating websites or applications. So you have 2 solutions. You have to drop, for accessibility's sake, your choice, or just fix it. And it is always, almost always, possible to fix it. Whatever is the interaction and complexity of the interface. So just do the research. You can do the research if you have, for example, just rough sketching. Do the research if a particular web component will be accessible for people. Developer could test some free resources, and it's that. So, and at the end, still on even paper prototype, so not very digital stage of the project, you will be able to define and have consciousness whether interface will be accessible, or you can make it accessible. So you will have this consciousness. It is important. And that's the power of thinking about accessibility from the beginning of every single project. And please, do not stop with our suggestions, with our small 3 suggestions. You have more suggestions in the slide, which was completely unreadable, with tons of UX techniques, but you can back to it later. But you have to try yourself, in your research, in your work, UX work, to be convinced. And one thing I'd like you to remember that user research is really crucial for the job. So work with people. So I think it's a little bit what Jeff told before. But do not forget about simple and silly WCAG conformance. Just don't.
It's time for the conclusion. So the web accessibility cannot be designed without your engagement. It doesn't mean that you have to multiply your task. When you are creating, for example, UX strategy for the project, you have to think about delegation and responsibility. So the recipe for good UX is to incorporate web accessibility. Many of your users are disabled or just need it for any of thousand reasons, you will never know. It's exactly like with responsive web design. We can't know all the context our website are viewed. So when you are committed to make your product accessible, start from the beginning. Sometimes I said, remember accessibility first. Then innovate your techniques and make someone responsible for accessibility. And make sure that the product will be conform with WCAG. The question projected here is the easiest one. So, after the voting dog, who knows the answer? What is the answer?
We showed the answer.
The huge paradox. You are much more responsible for accessibility of your creation than we are, Dominic and me. We are often treated as accessibility magician, which is kind of well said, but not in reality. Most of the time, we cannot save the product which has not been planned to be accessible from the beginning of the project. It's just not possible. And again, the project without sort of accessibility leader will not be successful. So, whatever is your position, rule, or profession, you should have your part as accessibility maker. It's sometimes a small part. It doesn't cost more of your time. But if you are UX designer, your role in designing accessibility product is essential. Remember, your toolkit should be equipped with accessibility by default. Thoroughly, if web developers you are working with are not having WCAG in mind, and doesn't apply good practice in code, your work can be lost. So tell them to do a good standard-based job and nothing more. It's enough.